Okay, let's start the second part of the town hall meeting. And it is my honor to greet and ask to join us here on stage the Ambassador Eric McKee, Assistant Administrator for the Europe and Eurasia Bureau, USA, and Thank you. And Ambassador Logston, everyone knows him here, the Ambassador of the US to Moldova. Please, Ambassador.
Bună ziua. It's great to see everyone. I'm just delighted to be here today. I see so many familiar faces, both from North America and from Chisinau. Moldovan-Americans, Moldovans based in Moldova, and of course American friends of Moldova, all in one room. Thank you and congratulations to Elena Dragulin and their team for organizing this fantastic convention. This program is filled with opportunities to hear from a range of wonderful speakers and to connect with each other on important topics. I'm also happy to be speaking again this year, alongside Erin McKee, USAID Assistant Administrator, just as we did at last year's convention in Chicago, for those of you who were there. The United States government is a proud partner of the Republic of Moldova, and Ambassador McKee and I are pleased for this opportunity to update you on the latest developments in our partnership. A lot has happened since the last MAC. Just a few short weeks after last year's convention, the European Moldova Rally drew 80,000 Moldovans to National Assembly Square. I'll never forget the atmosphere of pride, optimism, and genuine joy in that crowd, and excitement about what the future holds for Moldova. We were delighted when the European Council then voted to open accession negotiations with Moldova, reflecting the progress made in the very short time on key reforms. Some might joke about the irony of the Americans being the biggest champion for Moldova's European integration. The European Union ambassador gives me a very hard time about this. But we see this as an easy one. The Moldovan people have made clear that their future is in the West, in the democratic world, and we see a bright future for Moldova in the European Union. This is, I'm sad to say, my last MAC convention as the US ambassador to Moldova. After an inspiring and humbling more than 2 years serving as ambassador, I'll be departing Moldova at the end of May. My wife Michelle and I have loved our time in the beautiful country of Moldova, filled with inspiring individuals, determined and working hard to build a better future for all Moldovans. The good thing is our relationship is a team effort, and the entire US government is invested in supporting Moldovans to develop the country and further its European integration in the years to come. So know that I'll be following this very closely, and as the Deputy Prime Minister told me today, you never actually leave Moldova, you just change your location, and I think that's very true for all of you. I said this last year, it remains even more true today. The US-Moldova relationship has never been stronger. Yesterday's high-level US-Moldova strategic dialogue was an opportunity for us to celebrate the achievements of the past year and to further deepen our relationship by finding new avenues for partnership, solutions to problems, and of course, the best path forward. I'm continuously impressed by the progress Moldova is making, and the United States is proud to partner with both the people and the government of Moldova to help realize the goal of a more democratic, prosperous, and secure future for all Moldovans. I hope all of you heard that phrase from the DFC chairman too. I was glad to hear it. To do this, over the course of our 32-year partnership, the United States has provided over $2.5 billion in assistance to Moldova. U.S. assistance addresses both urgent and long-term needs in Moldova and spans numerous sectors, including justice reform and strengthening democratic institutions, including sustainable independent media, support for refugees from Ukraine and the communities hosting them, energy, high-value agriculture, tech and creative sectors, infrastructure development, border security, combating trafficking in persons, cybersecurity, countering disinformation, and military professionalization. This support has included direct budget assistance, training and technical assistance, equipment and software, exchange programs, and diplomatic and civil society engagement. I think it's safe to say that U.S. assistance still continues to make a tangible difference. Let me just give a few examples of how this support is improving lives. Our support to Moldova's cultural heritage preservation is one important line of effort. And last month, President Sandu, Minister of Culture Prodan, and I celebrated the completion of the $1 million restoration of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary Church in Kaohsiung. I hope all of you will visit. It's truly remarkable. And last year, we also announced a $200,000 grant to the National Jewish History Museum to preserve the Bet Kadishim, the funerary hall, within the Chisinau Jewish Cemetery. Both of these projects were funded through the Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation, and they're preserving important historical and cultural places for future generations of Moldovans and lots of visitors to see and experience. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the United States has provided $118 million in humanitarian assistance to Moldova, and last year alone, this totaled just under $43 million. And these funds support the approximately 115,000 people who were forced to leave the violence in Ukraine, who are seeking refuge in Moldova, along with the Moldovan communities that welcomed them. We provided hospital and medical equipment, medicine, supplies, ambulances, and school renovations that will benefit not only Ukrainian refugees, but also Moldovans now and for years to come. Russia's brutal war of aggression in Ukraine has deepened conversations about defense and about what it means to be able to defend Moldova's constitutional neutrality. The Moldovan government has increased its defense budget considerably in the past 2 years and also approved a new national security strategy that names Russia and anti-corruption as the main threats to Moldova's security. The United States has provided over $45 million worth of foreign military assistance in the last year and another $36 million worth of humanitarian assistance through our defense partnership since 1994. And this year we marked 30 years of defense partnership. Our government is working to help modernize Moldova's army, making sure it is well equipped and modern with the resources to perform its role. The United States will also continue to support the Moldovan government's efforts to modernize its security forces. We conducted several bilateral large joint exercises over the past year, including the annual Fire Shield exercise, the Airborne exercise, our ex-partner, and the largest military training exercise conducted between the United States and Moldova, Rapid Trident. I can't tell you the thrill to stand in the center of Moldova near Marculesht and watch American and Moldovan paratroopers jumping out of a NATO-operated aircraft onto a field. It was truly something to see. I don't know if I can say anything else. Congresswoman Ross is gone, but the importance of the North Carolina-Moldova relationship. We have a bilateral affairs officer from North Carolina. We've had one in the embassy since 1996. And Moldova's 22nd Peacekeeping Battalion even placed second in the North Carolina National Guard's Best Warrior competition. Moldova's first time participating in this 5-day endurance and skill competition, and they came in second. North Carolina and Moldova also received the 2024 award as the State Partnership of the Year. That was just last weekend. Secretary of State Marshall was in Las Vegas to help receive that award along with the Adjutant General. This underscores the value that the entire United States sees in the partnership. And of course, as you've heard, if you haven't seen all the great photos, we had Secretary of State Elaine Marshall from North Carolina. She was in Moldova last month to sign another 5-year extension of the partnership agreement between the Republic of Moldova and the state of North Carolina. And thanks to her leadership and that of our dedicated Moldovan counterparts, we have one of the most amazing civilian partnership programs that I have ever seen. I'm not surprised the Ukrainians asked if they could have one too. North Carolinians have supported a nursing program, a dental partnership, a humanitarian assistance program for all schools around Moldova. In December, Undersecretary of State Azra Zaya came to Moldova to announce the United States' largest single security sector investment ever in Moldova. And that's going to expand Moldova's existing law enforcement communication network across the whole country. This will ensure that Moldovan authorities have the most effective, reliable, and secure communications capabilities as they work to secure Moldova's border and protect citizens. As some of you may remember, when the war began in 2022, Moldovan security officials were using their cell phones. So this will help them have a reliable and secure way to communicate. The Export Control and Border Security Program has been an essential partner in supporting Moldova's sovereignty through border security improvements, and our work supporting the civilian security sector helps Moldova better secure its borders. A chemical analyzer donated by XBIS in October 2023 was already used, and they've seized over 16 kilograms of narcotics worth more than $1 million. Our partnership in this area is also helping to develop and strengthen new sanctions legislation for Moldova. As Moldova faces a hybrid war, we're also working with the government to improve cyber infrastructure to repel cyber attacks. I'm sure Aaron will talk about this as well. CRDF Global, it's an American NGO, has done several cyber hygiene trainings across the Moldovan government, and they're working with STISC, the main government information agency, and the Ministry of Energy to support broader cyber needs. And we also signed an agreement, an MOU, with the Ministry of Energy this year. Since January, the U.S. State Department has funded a cyber advisor to build cyber capacity and to harden defense within the Ministry of Defense. To address another element of Russia's attempts to attack Moldova's information space are, of course, our investments in independent media. We invest in independent media to promote their ability to serve as watchdogs and investigators into critical issues across the country. And truly independent media, I think we all know, is essential to democratic development. And Moldovan journalists are revealing corruption, carrying important messages, and exposing attempts of foreign malign influence. And that's all helping ensure that Moldovans have consistent access to reliable information. The Embassy's public diplomacy section will continue its support of independent media, making sure that Moldovans have access to consistent, reliable information from credible sources. We're also supporting the Audiovisual Council's important efforts in keeping foreign malign influence off of Moldovan airwaves. In September, the State Department Special Envoy, Jamie Rubin, came to Moldova to sign another MOU on our partnership to counter foreign malign influence. And that partnership's unfolding in various ways, including through the development of Moldova's new Center for Strategic Communication and Countering Disinformation. I could go on all day, the list of the partnership activities that we have. Our work in anti-corruption and justice sector programming by both the State Department as well as by USAID in partnership with the EU and the Dutch. It's continuing and moving into different stages, including ongoing work in the vetting commissions. We heard about that from the foreign minister. We have an advisor from the U.S. Treasury embedded at the State Tax Service. We have a whole team of advisors who are providing support in various specialized tax areas, helping Moldova modernize its tax collection system and harmonizing it with international standards. Another new player from the U.S. government, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They're providing specialized training and mentorship to Moldova's National Agency for Public Health and laboratories to increase epidemiological and public health emergency management capabilities. And let's not forget our people-to-people ties. Some of you may have come to the United States for the first time on a U.S. government-funded exchange. More than 6,000 Moldovans are our alumni. We're proud of the legacy of Moldovan leaders at all levels and in all sectors who participated in exchanges. Foreign Minister Papshoy, who you saw here, who's with us today, he's one of those leaders. He was a flex student. He still says he's from Moldova and Ohio, which we're proud of. From high school students to those firmly established in their careers, we know that these exchanges are invaluable experiences for all involved. And they also help us build greater understanding and knowledge between our two countries. And that's not even to mention the thousands of Americans who visited Moldova on exchange programs or come to Moldova to work as Peace Corps volunteers. We're very excited. Since I was last here, we have Peace Corps volunteers again in Moldova. Very exciting. I was delighted to swear in our new volunteers in December, and we're eagerly awaiting another group who will begin their training in June. We hear frequently from Moldovan leaders and in communities across the country about the huge impact that one Peace Corps volunteer can and does make a difference in the personal and professional lives of all those people they work with. We're also engaging in partnership with AmCham Moldova to advocate for transparent business practices and a business environment that will increase investment and create jobs. We also work closely with U.S. companies in Moldova, those who want to be there, those we want to be there, to make sure they know that Moldova is open for business. We signed an Open Skies agreement, and the MOUs that Moldova signed with Amazon and Microsoft are great examples of our deepening partnership on this front. And the joint Moldovan-American Chamber of Commerce Business Forum, held in Chisinau in February, showcased investment and trade opportunities in Moldova. I think we had more than 50 companies represented. It was great. Special Representative for Ukraine's economic recovery, former Commerce Secretary Penny Pritzker, was just in Moldova earlier this month, and she had a chance to talk with both Moldova's leadership as well as AmCham members about opportunities for investment and expansion in Moldova as we think about reconstruction in Ukraine. And of course, you all heard from Scott Nathan from from our Development Finance Corporation and their interest in engaging more in Moldova. We're ecstatic to be a partner in all of these efforts. So thank you for the opportunity to highlight some of the highlights that we have here. I see every day progress that's being made. This is a critical moment for Moldova's development, and there's a lot on the line. So I hope all of you, as Administrator Power asks you to do, please look into investment and business opportunities in Moldova to help expand the trade between our two countries and continue to build Moldova's business sector. I think you'll find they're willing and capable partners in Moldova, and our embassy is always ready to facilitate any kind of engagement you need. I don't need to encourage you all to get involved. You're all here. But please do stay involved and stay in touch with us. It sounds funny, but please check out our social media pages. We're not only bad social media, there's good social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, on Instagram, and you'll see real-life, real-time updates on what we're doing, what the U.S. Embassy is doing in Chisinau, to both advance our bilateral relationship and to help build a democratic, prosperous, and secure future for Moldova and all Moldovans. So now we're going to get to dig deeper into USAID. I'm going to turn the floor over to Ambassador McKee. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ambassador Logston. Thank you for that great both inventory and celebration of so much that has been accomplished in the last year. Elena, thank you for inviting me to join the convention again. And congratulations on the 10th. That's amazing. A decade of identifying how the Moldovan diaspora and Moldova can strengthen ties and, as you heard from my boss, Administrator Power today, mobilize investment in the future that we all know not only is important for Moldova's security and prosperity, but frankly will pay, I think, tremendous dividends, not just today, but in the future. This event demonstrates clear commitment of the Moldovan-American diaspora community to foster and sustain, as Ambassador Logston mentioned, the bonds, culture, business, and values that we share between the United States and Moldova. Like all of you in this room, USAID, my agency, the United States Agency for International Development, stands firm in its support for a democratic and prosperous Moldova. And we are proud, extraordinarily proud, to be Moldova's development partner of choice. Over the last 3 decades, USAID has partnered with the Moldovan people, and this partnership has contributed to opening new markets to Moldovan goods, building more competitive industries, strengthening local governance, and building a vibrant civil society. Our assistance has supported Moldova's path to the EU by helping bring Moldovan goods to market. Okay, we all know Moldovan wine. Okay, it's world class and it's probably the best. I'm from California, and so for me to say this is a big thing. But in addition to your world class amazing wine, fruit products, fashion design, and so many other amazing, creative, and delicious offerings that Moldova has for the rest of the world are hitting the EU markets and beyond. Further, Moldova has strengthened its energy security by increasing its energy connectivity to Europe. These connections, this diversified economic partnership, this opportunity to showcase for the world what Moldova is capable of is something that every single one of you in this room, and certainly the ambassador and I, are extraordinarily proud of. So everybody give your country a round of applause for a second. Okay, but despite recent progress, we know that Moldova is at a critical juncture as it sits on the front lines of Russia's aggression in the region. Together, and I mean that sincerely, together, we need to tackle new and complicated challenges. And I'm proud to say that Moldova and the United States have risen and will continue to rise to this occasion. To support Moldova in a time of crisis directly stemming from Putin's unprovoked war in Ukraine, the US Congress approved funding to alleviate the high cost of energy imports, to increase domestic power generation, and to improve energy market connections to the EU, as I mentioned earlier. This is vital because one of the worst weapons that Putin wields is not the missiles and the drones or the disinformation, but it's the power and the leverage to erode a country's sovereignty and take away its choice about who it wants to do business with, where it wants to invest, and certainly where it can source and rely upon a steady, affordable energy supply. So we are all in on energy independence and energy security. In addition, not only do we see the importance of institutionalizing and building resilience in the energy sector, but the democratic institutions and the commitment to reform and the resilience of the Moldovan people and their faith in the government is important to ensure that the free and fair elections for this year's presidential election and next year's parliamentary elections take place. This is vital because it's not about the outcome. I mean, of course, we hope that the people's voices will be heard and their determination to join the EU and be inextricably part of a Western and Euro-Atlantic future will be seen and heard and resulting at the polls. But for us, at least for my agency, what we are really focused on is the integrity of the process in and of itself. Because that faith in a democratic process and participating in the future of your country by voting your passion, your values, and what you believe in is fundamental. And so we are working very hard to ensure that the process is free, fair, transparent, and will be valid. Because it is public knowledge that the Kremlin has spent millions of dollars to subvert past elections, and there's no question that they will continue, that Putin and the Kremlin will continue these efforts. We also know that the Kremlin will continue to spread false information to create a smear campaign around those Moldovans in the government and civil society who are fighting for reform, who have led Moldova this far to so many of the successes and progress that we are celebrating from last year to this, and those that are fighting for EU integration and for a better future. In America, where we are here, sort of in the seat of America, it's capital, elections are an essential way for citizens to engage their government. And all democracies benefit when voter turnout is high, where the greatest number of people participate and where their voices are heard. And the Russian government may use all of the tools in their toolkit to influence this election, but USAID, and I have a lot of my team from Chisinau here. Wave your hands, everybody. Yay, I think you guys all know them. We'll continue our work hand in glove with stakeholders in government and civil society to ensure that the electoral process aligns with international standards. And despite Russia's attempts at malign influence, Moldovans have continued their progress towards this democratic development and future that is a triumph for all of us to celebrate. Moldova shines bright with the hope of a better future as their citizens say no to corruption, no to manipulation, often in the face of malign influence, blatant malign influence from abroad. In December last year, USAID was proud that the efforts Moldovans have taken to strengthen their democracy was recognized by the European Council's decision to open EU accession talks with Moldova and Ukraine. Moldova is unquestioningly moving in a positive direction. One, a direction that leads towards the goal of being free, independent, and democratic, and the necessary and courageous reform process. Everybody's like, reforms, that's, it's process, it's laws. No, it's fundamental, it's vital. It's the government demonstrating to its people that we heard you, and we also say no to corruption. We also say no to manipulation. And by taking on those necessary reforms, they are now a candidate for EU accession. And that is something that, again, all of you in this room and everyone back in Moldova should be very proud of. So USAID, my agency, understands, together with the entire country team under Ambassador Logson's leadership, and we are very sad you're leaving, our work is more important now than it has ever been before. We are partnering with Moldova to further democracy's dividends across several sectors. And I'd just like to highlight, as Ambassador Logson mentioned, a few areas, a few details that many of you may not be aware of, particularly in the area of the sectors of energy, technology, and investment in Moldova's youth. We aren't just working today to help Moldova succeed in its EU aspirations and achieve democracy and prosperity. We are also investing in the next generation so that that commitment and that bright future endures. So first, the energy sector. Energy independence and diversification, as I already mentioned, is vital to Moldova's long-term prosperity and security. So USAID supports energy sector reforms to liberalize the energy market. And liberalization and liberalizing the market is really important because it shines a light on the process and the transactions and crowds out those that would manipulate the energy sector for their own goods, oligarchs, kleptocrats, and no-goodniks, as some of our friends on the Hill would say. We also are establishing direct access to future markets, and in cooperation with the government of Moldova and the private sector, because tax dollars can't do it alone, we continue to increase renewable energy generation and improve energy efficiency. And to that end, we're working to stabilize Moldova's electricity grid and enable Moldova to increase the amount of low-cost renewable energy generation. That's an investment not only for energy security and independence, but it's an investment in the future where the lights, the heat, the homes, the schools, the hospitals, the entrepreneurs, everyone can have a safe, secure, reliable source of energy to be the engine of growth that Moldova needs, is using, but will need, if we are all successful, even more in the future. Second, technology. We have an opportunity to accelerate Moldova's path towards digital transformation. Moldova is rapidly advancing towards its goal of digitizing public sector, services, and essential infrastructure. And this leverages the strong capabilities in IT, generating investment and providing employment opportunities. Digitized public services contribute to building trust in public institutions and in reducing corruption. But at the same time, we are using technology to further Moldova's democratic goals. We are also, at the same time, protecting that information. Ambassador Logson mentioned cybersecurity. It's really important that as you put more information and more services online, that you boost citizens' confidence in accessing those services and having their information in the government's hands. It's both sides of the coin. So we aren't blind to that need and are working in parallel to ensure that the more transparent, accountable service delivery and information that's out there is also protected and secure and safe. E-commerce, in addition to government services, e-commerce initiatives are paving the way for Moldovan businesses to take advantage of these new opportunities. Thousands of entrepreneurs in tourism and fashion, winemaking, manufacturing, and other sectors attend free webinars on e-commerce and a variety of other capacity building, digital-driven ways to help them grow their business, make greater connections, and all at a very low cost. The ambassador mentioned the agreement signed with Amazon as well as Microsoft, and I'm proud to say that we were also able to secure support from Google, a contribution of up to $1 million to be able to help build out that digital infrastructure, both for good governance, but also for business. Finally, we are working hand in hand with the Moldova e-government agency to develop the Evo super app. I'm just learning about this now. My team gave me these talking marks, so bear with me. The Evo super app is a one-stop shop for all public services in Moldova, or a government in your pocket, as some might call it. I wish we could do that here. The super app was approved by the Moldovan cabinet in January of 2024, so just 4 months ago. And USAID is actively supporting the development team. The beta version launched in just a few weeks, just a few weeks ago, with more than 3,000 Moldovans registered in the first week. This app will help citizens and businesses tap into more than 300 digital government services and thus increase transparency, as well as those connections we were talking about. That's really exciting. So I can't wait to see the Evo super app in action. I'm just looking at my team. Okay. Now, finally, I want to talk about the future generations in Moldova. At USAID, and frankly, I'm sure all of you share the same commitment or conviction. A country's prosperity is built not by governments, but by its people. When given education and employment opportunities, young people are better able to build the future that they want to have. USAID has established STEAM programs. Now, a lot of you hear about STEM, but you know, they did a lot of studying, and the A part, the arts, is equally important to have that balance. And we know that the creative art capability and industry in Moldova is a huge driver for both change as well as offering for the rest of the world. So our STEAM initiatives have helped Moldova educational robotics programs in more than 200 K-12 schools, consistently securing top positions in international competitions. USAID also facilitated the introduction of 3 bachelor's degree programs in new media, game design, and animation. These future professions programs at Moldovan universities educate new era media specialists and will create over 20 new job roles, not just jobs, but these roles, and redefining what the employment base and opportunities will look like in Moldova for the future. It's pretty exciting. We connected the University of California, go Bears, I went to Berkeley. And actually, can I just say something about California? We've been talking about North Carolina a lot, which is appropriate. They've been a strong partner. But think about it. IT, creative industry, wine industry. Moldova needs to be the California of Europe. So we're putting pieces in place for that. The University of California, Berkeley, with the Technical University of Moldova and the State University of Moldova to institutionalize this work, these partnerships, these bachelor's programs, this industry beyond our development assistance. We have a lot to show for our efforts, but there remains a plethora, an inordinate amount of challenges ahead. The looming specter of Putin's aggression threatens that progress and demands unwavering vigilance and commitment. Moldova stands poised to make its mark on the world stage. Not just Europe, not just America, but the world. From rich cultural traditions to cutting-edge technology, the people of Moldova are driving economic growth and market integration. So now more than ever, we must stand shoulder to shoulder, demonstrating that democracy is not just a lofty ideal. It's a proven pathway for prosperity, security, a brighter future for every Moldovan citizen. So together, let's forge ahead, united in our pursuit of a brighter, more democratic, and self-determined future for all Moldovans. And I thank you for inviting me to speak to you today, and I look forward to continuing to engage with your work as you celebrate your 10th annual MAC.
Do we have time for one quick question? We have one more panel. One quick question. And one short answer, please. Yes, anyone? Oh, no one? Yeah. Like, anyone? No? Should we just continue?
That's
Yes.
great. Yeah, we're just really happy to be here and to show you what your U.S. government tax dollars are supporting in the Republic of Moldova. That's really the bottom line of what Aaron and I were trying to do today. I hope that all of you felt good about where those tax dollars are going. We can tell you that we take great care to make sure we get everything possible out of each dollar. But I think all of you can be very proud of what you've done and what you're doing to support Moldova, because we take it all very seriously. And then thank you for being good U.S. taxpayers who will help us out.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you tonight. Moldova and the Moldovan people are really appreciating the trusted partnerships that we have. And now I want to invite Mr. Lars Lundback, Chief IOM Mission to Moldova. Please join us on stage. Mr. Jeff Bryan, Mission Director, USAID Moldova. And Ms. Stella Gemna, Country Representative for Moldova, Western INS Enterprise Fund. INS.
Okay, thank you very much, Elena. Thank you so much for inviting IOM.
Do we have the microphone?
Does it? Are we hearing? Okay. Just a little bit closer. Elena, thank you so much for inviting IOM. It's extremely inspiring for an organization that works so much with diaspora to be here amongst the diaspora and seeing the power of the diaspora. We're really proud to be called a trusted partner. God knows we have been working with diaspora issues in Moldova since 2007. And I think that you'll be very happy to hear that we have been helping to establish these household names in the diaspora circles, like the Diaspora Relations Bureau. We have representatives here, the PARE 1+1, the return of qualified nationals programs, the out-of-voting programs, etc., etc. So this is a long-term commitment that we have. It's a core part of our organization's work. I was just hearing a quite interesting anecdote, and I wanted to just share it with you. And it relates to the government's own diaspora conference. And we're harking back to 2008, which was the second National Congress. And it was led by President Voronin at the time. And what I understand at that time, the diaspora was a bit more restricted, or at least the perception of it was more restricted. Apparently, the proceedings were taking place in Russian, because mainly the people were coming from Central Asia or from the Russian Federation. But it's ironic that only 1 year later, in the elections of 2009, that the communist government was voted out. And I think, if my information is correct, the thumb on the scale was the diaspora again. So these are extremely interesting and inspiring and thoughtful things. I just wanted to say that the remittances, we have to just look a little bit technically at that. That is obviously 12% of the gross national product of Moldova, 1.7 billion US dollars last year. That's enormous, of course, and keeping the balance of payments in shape in a way that no other really input does. It is a lifeline for poor people. It is a good antidote for shocks, economic shocks, especially for poor households. But beyond these, let's say, anonymous remittances, the foreign direct investment is quite notable. Individuals, we know that the record is 150 million that has been done. These have massive impacts on the economy. Also to more poorer villages, investments in the area of 1 million US dollars is there. But of course, the way in which the diaspora supports in terms of transmitting skills, expertise, networks on trade, enormously important. And I have also heard now that the phenomenon of medical tourism, not so little from the diaspora, is spurring the medical profession and medical technical capabilities. Also, I think there's a bit of dentistry in there as well. So, I mean, there are so many areas in which the diaspora has an impact. But IOM looks not only at these remittances, but something that we call democratic remittances. This is about sharing, and we have been speaking about this so much, sharing the democratic values back home, sharing a spirit of participatory government, and of course, the diaspora shows up at the urns. And I just wanted to show the percentages here. Last parliamentary election, the diaspora, the electorate, the percentage of the electorate that was the diaspora was 14%. This is quite remarkable. At the presidential elections, a couple of 6 months previously, 16% was the diaspora as part of the electorate. Quite remarkable. And obviously, we've been speaking so much during these proceedings about the importance in the next 12 months of the elections moving forward. Even if we saw recently some polling that was going in the right direction, but we cannot cry victory quite yet, of course. I just wanted to say that the government has done enormously. I cannot not underline the way in which the government has stepped up in terms of supporting consular services, making them more user-friendly for diasporas across the world in terms of legal documents, skills recognitions, etc., etc. I just wanted to say 2 words about the importance of investments. Obviously, Moldova suffered quite a lot under COVID, when now the war in neighboring Ukraine. I think the good news is that the government was able to weather the storm, in the sense that it was already mentioned, the 1 million Ukrainian refugees that the majority of them passed through, but still a lot of them remain. Policies, support remain for these refugees. They have not created a crisis for the country as such. Also, the support for the energy, etc., etc., there's responsibility taken there. So now it is the long game that is for stability, economic renewal, and the diaspora plays an enormous role in that regard. So just to roll off the programs that are there. PARE 1+1 I already mentioned. It's been there for a number of years, creating and mentoring more than 2,200 businesses, creating 7,000 jobs, 6,000 returnees. The new DARE 1+3 program on local development is taking off. More than 100 programs already, 60 more this year to be announced. And finally, just to mention an innovative climate change and innovation investment fund concept. That is not just for investment for charity, but actually something that would render returns on investment. But the focus there, and this is what we have surveyed, is that there's a very strong investment willingness when you see that there's a fund that has a very clear profile on the green business development. This CIIF, as the acronym is, was developed with expertise in the London-based Justin Skaggs Innovest Advisory and has been tested in a number of focus groups amongst the best investors, for instance, in New York. And I think that with your support, we would be able to launch this program in this year. And it's funny, I was able to make some contacts with some very key people already today in this room, and I think that we're moving forward. So my conclusion is just, it's time to invest your vote, and it's in time to invest in the greening of the Moldovan economy. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you.
Bună ziua! Este o mare plăcere să fiu aici astăzi în această sală frumoasă pentru cel mai important eveniment pentru diaspora moldovenească. Mulțumesc! Mulțumesc! Since the Moldovan colleagues haven't been speaking Romanian, I thought I would say a few words. I'm really proud to be here. You've heard a lot from USAID, so I'll be brief. You heard from my boss and my boss's boss. So I won't go into all of our projects and programs because there are so many. But I would just, I'm honored to be here and to meet you. Like I said, in this beautiful room in the capital of the United States with you. Also because personally, I consider myself part of the diaspora because my wife is Moldovan. Our children were born when we lived in Moldova. I first moved to Moldova in 2010. And that was a time that was not so different from today in some ways. There had been a change in government. There was a new pro-European government that was focused on EU integration in power. We worked very closely with that government for the 4 years that I was there, leading to the first signature of the association agreement with the EU. So a lot of the same energy was going on. Unfortunately, by the time I left in 2014, the geopolitical situation was changing. Russia had invaded Crimea. So again, echoes of what's going on today. But then just after I left, there was the heartbreaking theft of $1 billion from Moldova's government, from its people. Again, that was heartbreaking. I was away for almost a decade, and now we've had the chance to come back, my family and I, to return to Moldova. People often ask me, how is it? Is it different? How's Chisinau now? It really is much more beautiful, so if you haven't been back recently, you'll probably notice a lot of change in the city. I guess all I'd really like to say is that our work as USAID and my colleagues here, Moldovan colleagues especially, Rodica Miron and Roman Puric, people who've dedicated their entire careers to supporting these activities. And we have generations of programs going back 30 years of work in these areas of democracy, private sector-led economic growth, justice sector reform. So all of the results that we see today are really built on the foundations of those 30 years of partnership. And that puts Moldova in the position to be able to stand up to Russian aggression and to push back. And I'm really proud to be there and to be able to be part of it. And now with the new energy sector, more than $300 million that you heard about and supplemental funding that we're using to build hard infrastructure, like transmission line to Romania and battery storage systems that are going to make Moldova energy independent. And so you've heard a lot about some of the most important programs, but I did want to mention one thing that might be especially relevant to many of you who have some connection with IT or IT adjacent activities. It's the Moldova IT Park that USAID has helped support right now. The IT Park has more than 1,600 companies active. And the IT Park law has been extended through 2037, which guarantees a very flat, 7% flat tax rate, an attractive rate for companies in the IT sector, but also companies like business process outsourcing, and that relates to the trucking industry that I know is really important for Moldova, for the diaspora. So that's one great successful thing that's going on now. And I wanted to mention also something in the last year that's been a huge, that made me really happy to see, was in relation to the support that we've provided to robotics and STEAM education in schools. That last year it was a team of Moldovan high school kids in Singapore who won first place in the global competition for robotics in the whole world. It was just amazing to see those kids, and you can all be proud of that, but it also made me worried because what's their future going to be? Are they going to emigrate, or are they going to have jobs in Moldova, like good jobs that they can also, some people choose to stay, and so we're doing everything we can to, that you've heard a lot about, to help create that environment for jobs and opportunities and education and healthcare and things that give those opportunities in Moldova, and for some of you who might choose to invest or to even come back to Moldova. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's great to meet you, to make new friends. 30 years ago, I think the big question was, is Moldova going to reunite with Romania? Well, the big question today, well, it's not a question. The answer today is that Moldova is going to reunite with Romania, but as in the European Union as the other Romanian-speaking country in the European Union. And so we're glad to be able to be part of that and to support the process. Thank you.
The most difficult part left to me, because everyone wants to leave to change their clothes. I'm going to keep you a little bit longer. So I've been to 3 conventions now. The first time when I have been here, I was a student at Georgia State University as a Fulbrighter. That was my first convention. The second one, I came as the Chief of Staff of the Prime Minister. And the third one, I'm coming as a country representative for a regional investment fund. This is good. You know, we are progressing. And such is progressing our country. So my idea was to increase the optimism, because I know that you don't have time to find out more about Moldova. By the way, yesterday I received the feedback that the last convention I came, I encouraged few people to apply to some projects in Moldova, right? Yes. Here you go. So it's interesting what's going to happen after this one. So the fund that I'm representing is a $285 million fund. So the problem in Moldova is not the money. It's the ideas and the interesting businesses. So if you are trying to find investment, you can come to me and we can discuss more details. We will not go into those details right now because we don't have enough time. But one thing that I wanted to say is that besides investment, that this fund is 29 years in Moldova invested. I think it created 26,000 jobs in Ukraine and Moldova. Now we have a lot of development funds, and we are implementing a lot of projects back home. So I will refer to several of them. And a lot of them we have synergies with USAID, which is very important, because in the past we would have a lot of donors, but they will not have time to discuss with each other, and this time we are working pretty close together. So one thing what I wanted to tell you, in 2025, most likely all of you are going to see a movie about Moldova on Netflix. How about that? So we will fund, we just started, we will fund 3 series on Netflix about Moldova, North, South, and Center. I mean, we have money for 2 series, hopefully we'll find for the 3rd one. So we want to promote the country on the international platform, and we thought that Netflix is the best one to do it. Because, you know, when you come, every time you have to present Moldova. So if it's on Netflix, then you don't have to present Moldova. Second, so we are working together with USAID here. Diana Lazar is here, so you have to meet her. Diana, you can shake your hand. So she is doing a great job on the export promotion, on all our fruits, vegetables, wines in Moldova. So if you want to know more, you have to get in touch with her. Another project that we are doing very nicely, what you said about robotics, we thought that it's good to have more schools and faster. So basically, we added money to USAID money. So now we have 129 schools that have robotics in Moldova, which is very cool. Other projects, we are doing a lot of work with accelerators. We just gave $500,000 to WODA for startups and innovation. We selected 100 companies that are developing startups and innovation in Moldova, and we want to invest a lot in tech startups. So again, if you think about different ideas in that sense, if you want to invest, please come and find me. So, you know, we can talk a lot, but you have to understand that the speed that Moldova took is it's a high speed for development. Yes, we have a lot of problems. We know all of them. We really work on them. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes less successful. But the overall thing is that we are all working together on the stage in these groups to make Moldova a brighter place. And I wanted to congratulate you that you are part of this process. And thank you. And I know a lot of you invest in Moldova, so you are always welcome to, have a masă rotundă, pătrată, or whichever masă you want when you are back home. Thank you very much, and waiting for you to come back home.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, presenters, and thank you everyone for being part of this town hall here this afternoon. Now we have a few minutes left for some glasses of Moldovan champagne. Please join us here at the table. And we are waiting for you at 6 o'clock here at the library for the gala, MAC10 gala. Please be on time. Thank you. Join us here at the tables. Thank you. For live streaming, see you in 2 hours. Bye. Ne vedem în 2 ore.